Right, hello everyone. Today we have a slight Oktoberfest themed eating session, but apart from the crowd, minted cabbage, crunchy and tangy, I'm skeptical. I'm not sure. I mean, there are one or two biscuity items which look as though they could be German, but I am thinking that this is a um, bit of a piggybacking on the uh, season without thinking things through as such. Because I mean, British, German, maybe we've just adopted some of their biscuits as our own, but I'm sure half of these are just standard British biscuits. It is all Oktoberfest themed. I believe exclusive to Aldi. These, yeah, this is a brand that's exclusive to Aldi. Um, I mean, does it say German made or German? Okay, German style. There we go, German style. So supposedly they are German style, but half of these just look like typical British biscuits. So I'm thinking someone. I mean, these look a bit more European, a bit more fancy, but um, and someone who is German. Oh, I do have a very lovely German friend. He's very elusive. She's very busy, I'm sure, and stuff. But if I could get hold of her, I would ask her because she's very lovely and I know she misses Germany. I think she still is living in England, but she may have returned to Germany. I'm not sure. But yeah, she'd always speak very highly of Germany and talk about how lovely, how she'd talk about how sad it was in England where we did not talk to our neighbours, whereas in Germany you always borrow milk and things from your neighbours. Everyone is so open and stuff. So Germany has always come very highly recommended. And she'd been a German herself. She's a great example of such a lovely individual. But yeah, as you can see, I started eating them off screen yesterday when I purchased them because I was hungry. There was not much food around, so um, I've had a taste, and I suppose I was being a bit harsh yesterday when I was looking at these and thinking I've just been had by Aldi. These are not even remotely Oktoberfest themed. These are just biscuits with the Oktoberfest label shoved on. But someone who is German, please let me know. But some of them do. I'm starting to see it now. I can see how these are a bit Germanesque, but I worry that Aldi are getting a bit carried away there. Um, the bag Now the bag that has not been opened. Again, you could find similar things any time of year in England, but these do look a bit more German, shall we say, or a bit different, because we do have wafers in various forms in England, but I suppose these do look a bit more authentic. And I'm sure a lot of German stuff does mimic out, so to speak, regardless of who created it first. Germany is not that far away. Suitable for vegetarians? Well, you'd hope so, unless they've been shoving pork inside the wafers. I know in Germany they do obviously like meat quite a lot. They are obviously famous for their frankfurters and other sausages. What is that? Is it Brax Brax was Brax something on that. It will come to me later. May also contain almonds, cashew nuts, and yeah. So just three items. I thought I purchased more, but I suppose partly because the price was going up quite quickly. And again, I did see some other things that were Oktoberfest branded, and they were just things we have every day of the year. Maybe they were, maybe they are enjoyed over in Germany, but I really want to grab and embrace and respect the um, German culture. And so if that involves British looking biscuits, then so be it. But I was looking for some things that were a bit different. But apart from the kraut, which is definitely not something I have that often, I have had it before, but could have been years ago. Um, yeah, and these two bags. Some of the other things. I'm sure they would. I'm sure they probably just Aldi. Sorry to sound so skeptical, but I'm sure they just opened up things they were selling anyway and then rebranded them with the Oktoberfest label. But no, which again is no disrespect to the German culture. Complete opposite. I just feel like I'm being had a bit. I feel like I just innocently picked up some things that were Oktoberfest branded, and then as I got home, it dawned on me that some of these may not be quite as authentic as I had hoped. But no, these sound interesting. Dark chocolate and cinnamon flavoured wafers. They sound like the most exciting wafers I've ever had, because wafers can be a bit too airy and dry and flavourless. They can be very neutral, can't they? Which I suppose can be a good thing in its own way. These sound exciting. But they are only German style. I'm sure they were made in England somewhere. But anyway, yeah, thank you for selling them, Aldi. I cannot remember how much I paid, but I'm pretty sure they were a bit expensive, even though they no doubt have never seen a German shore at any point in their making. 400 grams. I presume the other one is 400 grams, and this is 300 grams drained, 480 net. I think I quite like this, considering I'm not a big fan of cabbage. This might be a way to make cabbage interesting, more exciting. But in any case, it is nice to respect different cultures and explore their food. That's something I love doing. I shall be thinking of my lovely German friend Romana as I eat this. And I remember her telling me when we first met, she was being very sort of modest or what have you, and she told me her name was Romana. Her father named her Romana, which simply means girl from Rome. And I said, no, that's really beautiful. I love that name. So as a tribute to my German friend, the girl from Rome, let's look at some Oktoberfest products. So I did see yesterday that there was at least one and more of the. I'm sure there are loads, but I could already see one with a bit of jam. I will say that you do not get a lot of jam. I'm sure in Germany they're made much bigger. It is half of another one. But the jam is somewhat similar to what you would get in a jammy dodger. I'm sorry if that sounds offensive. But different, definitely different, but vaguely reminiscent of a jammy dodger. Jammy dodgers are okay, I guess. So it certainly was not meant as a criticism, just an observation. But I like the shape, really like the shape. That's a bit different, something a bit more exciting. But yeah, there are loads. I love having a bag of random foods inside. This reminds me of the old biscuit tins people would have, where they'd shove different biscuits inside. Now, I'm not sure if I tried this one. So this is a more plain looking biscuit. That's that guy there, that sort of waffle design. Slightly salty. All of the biscuits are quite hard, but just about manageable for me. And so that last one was slightly salty, so otherwise it has a nice neutral taste. I've never been the biggest fan of biscuits. I prefer cakes and things, anything with chocolate. And this does have chocolate. This is a moon-shaped, or kind of moon-shaped. I'm not sure what it is actually, but an interestingly shaped biscuit with a bit of chocolate on. I do quite like that saltiness. It's actually not too bad. This one is very chocolatey. So as I say, I've never been the biggest fan of biscuits, but they are not bad biscuits at all for what biscuits are, but let me know how authentic they are. Do they seem to be authentic in terms of shape, in terms of what you perceive the recipe to be? I mean, I suppose they just listed genuine ingredients. Dark chocolate 8%, cocoa butter, starch, red currants puree. Oh, that's for the jammy dodger-esque thing, I would presume. Water, lactose, raisin agents, ammonium carbonates. Some usual ingredients. Again, I imagine in Germany the ingredients vary quite a bit. Elderberry juice, concentrated elderberry juice. Okay, that's a bit different. Pectins. Okay, but yeah, I enjoyed looking at those. Quite a range of biscuits. Perhaps unsurprisingly, my favourite are the ones with chocolate, and also because that slightly circular one, which is covered in chocolate, not the one that the crescent-shaped half chocolate one, but the smaller one. I think it was a little smaller. That also had chocolate melted over some of the bottom. That was also softer, that was easier to bite into, but interesting. Now for the wafers, which apparently have 11% dark chocolate, or some of them will, and cinnamon as well. So cinnamon is one of my favourite ingredients. Particularly this year and last year, I've really been getting into cinnamon and embracing it and cooking with it. I've made roast potatoes with cinnamon. So I smell of cinnamon as well. It's beautiful. And that has a very airy, neutral smell. So we can see some without chocolate and some with chocolate. Let's start with the chocolate one. I'm not sure if that was cinnamon that I was tasting, but this guy here, there's two fused together, but it starts off like a basic wafer, so even somewhat reminiscent of those pink wafers we get in England. And then there's a sweetness that comes through, and then there's this really peculiar flavour toward the end, which makes it really delectable. What are the ingredients? Oh, caramelized sugar syrup, that could be it. That might be where a lot of the flavour comes from. Magnesium carbonates. I'm going to eat another one of the same kind straight away. I'm not sure if I can taste cinnamon yet, but that these ones, it's really strange, but yeah, you go from, even with the chocolate, it just tastes sort of neutral at first, and then there is this sweetness briefly that comes, and then there's maybe just a caramelized sugar syrup. This very peculiar taste, which is really nice and just makes everything come together, and just has you want to grab another one straight away. That's really interesting. I really like that. How do they taste without much chocolate on? That proves it. It is not actually the chocolate, it definitely is something inside the wafer. So maybe syrup of some kind, whether caramelized sugar syrup or something else. Wow, that is really good, and they're so, obviously they were solid, but they're one of the softer solids, easier to break down, really good, so good for the old jaw. Now let's look at this little cube. That has a slightly different taste for sure, and you can definitely taste more chocolate, yeah. So that's more of the chocolate experience. But I'm wondering where the cinnamon is. I'm still not tasting cinnamon. This one is a curious bag. Or perhaps it is a type of cinnamon I'm not too familiar with, but I cannot even smell cinnamon. Oh, here's a chunky one. Oh, here's a cuboid. I forgot that there was the promise of a cone. This must be the cinnamon one. This has to be. They're buried right at the bottom, so you have to work your way through them. But although I have never been the biggest fan of wafers either, these are definitely the nicest wafers I have ever had. From the dark chocolate to that creamy syrup filling, these are pretty good wafers. Again, let me know if they are actually authentic to traditional German foods, but these are definitely, who knew that wafers could be so exciting? I mean, those pink wafers, I suppose, are okay now and again, but they're not the most exciting thing. But these have something good going on. I cannot really smell cinnamon, but this must have cinnamon in. I warn you that they are much harder, the cone-shaped wafers. And can you even call them a wafer? I suppose it's a similar recipe, they've just been hardened in some way, but yeah, I suppose, yeah, they are wafers, but they are much harder, not so kind on the teeth. They are much, much harder, so be prepared for them, but you can definitely taste cinnamon, but Also, it is true that the cinnamon is a bit of a background flavour. Well, the only flavour there. It is very short-lived, I suppose. I would have liked more cinnamon, but again, the product's not bad. Again, ideally it would have been softer, but that's my personal preference because of my jaw. But it's quite a nice smell as well. Who knew that wafers could smell so nice as well? They've done a good job, I have to say. This is inspired by true Oktoberfest snacks and German cuisine and snacks, treats, culture and so forth, then yeah, this has been a good experience as well. And obviously, whether or not I like the actual flavours, it is still a good experience because I love learning about different cultures. But though the rectangular, the cubes, the cuboids, they have such a nice filling. I really recommend those. You do get the cinnamon hit only with the cones, it would seem, and they are much harder, unfortunately. But yeah, it's just good experience and good contrast. You get variety at least. You get some harder things and some softer things. So it's definitely a bag for everyone, I suppose you could say. Unless you do not like chocolate or are allergic to chocolate, what have you. Obviously, these will not be gluten-free in any way, but they are suitable for vegetarians, of course. I really like these, the first ones I tried. These are really good. I think I've definitely reached or even breached my daily sugar allowance, but it was good. They are nice. I think I prefer the wafers to the biscuits, I suppose, partly because the wafers are softer, but the biscuits, make no mistake, there's some interesting things going on. Gosh, I can smell this now. It is not an overpowering smell, but it is a very evident smell. Yeah, the wafers, it must be the caramelized sugar syrup. That is really nice, really indulgent. I would actually go as far as saying. I've never seen a wafer as being indulgent, so far as I can recall, but those wafers are good, and the biscuits are good too. And I almost spilt some kraut juice on them. Whoops. That was so close, I just missed the bag. So, ingredients: sauerkraut, cabbage, water and salt. So just 3 ingredients. I'm not the biggest fan of cabbage, but it should make things more interesting compared to your usual cabbage. I mean, I can smell cabbage still, and it's been shredded. I just hope it is not too strong. I definitely need something savoury now. So we will be going from sweets to quite clearly savoury. I was going to blow on it as though it was hot. I think I'm just preparing myself for it. You know what? That is interesting. It is shredded. It is quite easy to deliver and chew and swallow. But yeah, I mean, I suppose if you eat a fair amount, obviously that would be unhealthy for one thing. But it would be too much. But so far, yeah, considering it is just cabbage shredded and preserved with water and salt, it has something interesting going on. Just having salt, just having salted cabbage somehow, I don't know, somehow it is much more exciting, just due to that one ingredient. Mm. I think because for me, cabbage really needs strength. You need to throw some chili flakes onto it, do something interesting with it. So this gives a bit of a kick to the cabbage. It stops it from being quite so dull. I suppose in Germany they would have this over a hot dog or in a burger or something. I can actually genuinely get behind that. Just those 3 ingredients, and also with the cabbage being shredded as well, so it is easier to eat. But Yeah, so it's convenience, but also improved flavour. The flavour's improved definitely. Salt is such a relatively simple ingredient, yet it can do so much. And I know this is obviously has long been a part of German culture as well as other cultures. And let's look up a bit of. I just noticed some juice I splashed near my keyboard, so let's try to keep things civil before I break another laptop. I mean, I've never broken a laptop. The universe has broken them for me. I maintain. Well, there was that laptop where the fuse blew, but again, I maintain that was a third party, a faulty third party adapter. Um, that poor Lenovo IdeaPad Z500. I still have the motherboard somewhere. I'm still determined to fix it someday. Um, I tried to think about with replacing a fuse. Maybe it wasn't even a fuse that blew in the end, but I don't know. Here we go, sauerkraut. Popular in Germany and Central Europe, I think Google just said, but I've now clicked on Wikipedia. Finely cut raw cabbage that has been fermented by various lactic acid bacteria. It has a long shelf life and a distinctive sour flavour. It does not taste too sour, this one. Both of which result from the lactic acid formed when the bacteria ferments the sugars in the cabbage leaves. Have a long history in many cultures, fermented food. Although sauerkraut is from a German word, you can see that just by looking at it. That's one of the things I love about the German language, is the stuff there almost, from an English perspective, almost random assortments of letters and how long the words can be. The dish did not originate in Germany. Some claim it was already practiced in the days of building the Great Wall of China. The Romans pickled forms of cabbage. It took root in Central and Eastern European cuisines. Again, where no disrespect to people on Wikipedia, but obviously people can make mistakes, so we're just assuming that all of this is true. Obviously, we always make different finds and things and have to update history, but so if all of this is accurate, Netherlands has some history with it, where it is known as zirkel, and France, where the name became chocolate. According to Mac and Serena, who are they? They sound like EastEnders characters. The Slavic people of Europe likely discovered fermented cabbage on their own. The English name is borrowed from German, where it means sour cabbage. It stands to reason. Belarusian, Lithuanian, Polish, Russian, Romanian, Turkish, Persian, Macedonian, Latvian, Serbo-Croatian, Slovene, Ukrainian, Slovak. And of course, before frozen foods, refrigeration and so forth, this was a way to preserve food, especially vitamin C during the winter. Oh, here we go. James Cook gets a mention. Captain James Cook always took a store of sauerkraut on his sea voyages, since experience had taught him it prevented scurvy. Interesting. The word kraut derived from this food is a derogatory term for the German people. I'm not sure if I ever knew that. During World War I, due to concerns the American public would reject a product with a German name, discrimination, American sauerkraut makers relabeled their products as Liberty Cabbage. What? For the duration of the war? That sounds so American. We'll take your food. I mean, it describes humans in general. But we'll take your food, but we will not take your name. We will not respect your culture. This is Liberty Cabbage, honestly. Honestly, trust the Americans. Liberty Cabbage. Shameful behaviour. It sounds very much like a British thing as well, just as much. You can imagine it happening here. Liberty Cabbage. It's actually sauerkraut, but we do not want to reference the Germans. Fermentation by lactobacillus introduced naturally. So a 2004 genomic study found that the diversity of bacteria had been oversimplified, according to this Wikipedia article. Interesting. There's something about backslopping. If you mix a new batch of sauerkraut with an old batch to get an exceedingly sour product, that sounds interesting. The regional varieties: Russia, Ukraine, Czech, Slovak, Lithuanian. In Germany and Austria, cooked sauerkraut is often flavoured with juniper berries or caraway seeds. What are caraway seeds? Sounds vaguely familiar, but I'm not say that I really know much about them. Apples and white wine are added in popular variations. Bulgaria, Serbia, Bosnia, the whole cabbage heads are pickled. Sauerkraut, along with pork, is eaten traditionally in Pennsylvania on New Year's Day. They still call it Liberty cabbage. Sandwiches and hot dogs, yeah, that's more an American thing, apparently. Oh, in Maryland, particularly in Baltimore and on the Eastern Shore, sauerkraut is a traditional accompaniment for the Thanksgiving turkey. I wonder if Ross and Tina on Thin Loves Food will do an Oktoberfest themed video. I would not be surprised if they did. So now they love experiencing different cultures, and they may well get sent some things by people. Interesting. It is popular among some Jews. Health effects: high source of vitamins K and C if uncooked. Yes, I remember hearing K was a great notice. Romani people consider it a lucky food. Interesting. So there we go. We have some history, if that is all accurate and true. Now have some burgers that I purchased yesterday to taste test, and I will pair them with this. That will be interesting to make more of a meal out of it. So I will be back momentarily, I suppose.